This article from today's The Hindu has some important facts and points important for a prelims exam. But it also has a very good dimension related to mains. We will look at both the both the perspectives. First thing is that it mentions some act, that is Payment and Settlement System Act 2007. Then it also mentions a term called merchant discount rate, and UPSC has already asked a question on MDR, I guess back in 2015 or 14. So these two things you need to understand, that government has recently is like trying to amend this Payment Settlement Systems Act so that the new amended provision will allow the government to notify some charges on specified electronic payment modes. So it is not specifically talking about UPI or card payments as such, but it is saying about specified electronic payment modes. That means government in future will be having some kind of broader powers regarding which kind of digital transaction to be charged and which can be skipped and what would be the charges. So it is being proposed as a merchant discount rate. Merchant discount rate means the charges will be levied by the merchant. Means suppose you are doing some UPI payment and to buy a phone, then buy a phone from an online or from any shop, then you are paying through the UPI to that online shop or e-commerce platform. That e-commerce platform need to pay out some MDR, some percentage of your transaction to the government as MDR. But how it will recover it? So chances are that it will recover from the consumer itself. So these two are important prelims perspective, important facts and points. Now to understand it, how it is related to your mains, let's tackle the question. So digitalization of payments has wider benefits, facilitating transactions. So examine the implications of imposing additional costs on digital payments. This question is actually, I have not framed this question like anything from my mind. This question actually summarizes the core of this article. So digitalization of payments, that is the major theme of this article. It has wider benefits beyond facilitating transactions. So this article mentions some of the major benefits related to digitalization of payment system. So examine the implications of imposing additional cost on digital payments. So what will be the costs that may be incurred if we are imposing some additional charges? So to write an answer to this question, we can simply give an introduction defining very briefly what is digitalization of payments and how it benefits Indian economy as a whole. This we can write in one sentence, very generic, very simple statement. Below that we can make a flow chart, or you can make a simple chart. What are the benefits? Right, we can make a flow chart like this. We can put benefits, multiple benefits over here. The first major benefit is that it can facilitate easier transactions, no need to carry cash. Then other benefits that have been highlighted in this article is that it will bring formalization of economy, formalization of transactions. So earlier, whatever transactions are being done in cash, if digital transactions are promoted, those cash transactions will become formal and everything can be accounted for, obviously by the government and as well as for the users. This formalization will lead to tax compliance, right? If all the shop owners are having a major chunk of their transactions using digital modes, then obviously it will be very easy for the government authorities to account whether they are paying proper taxes or not, or how much they have earned. One more benefit associated with this is that a spending profile of the users. How a rupee the financial institution can eventually see and use to build a spending profile, provide credit based on the digital trail created by electronic payments. How the user is spending money, what kind of resources, what are the major sectors on which the money is being spent. these can be like actually analyzed, and based on that, that particular user can be given curated financial products. So it will also lead to financial inclusion. So these are some of the benefits which are beyond merely facilitating transactions. So if you write this way, then this part, the explanation of this question statement has been fulfilled. Now we need to write about implications. So for implications, we need to write a small statement why this imposing of additional cash on digital payments is like in the context. So you can write that recently we can write like the government is seeking to impose certain charges on a specific electronic payment modes through amending the Payment and Settlement Systems Act. You can write over here. Now you need to write the multiple implications. This is the major part of the question. It is talking about implications. So avoid making chart for this part. This part should be written properly in proper sentences, proper points, in a bit explanatory way. So what are the major implications? The implications are also being dealt here. So I am not anything like creating from my own mind. I am just trying to restructure this news article, this article from the Hindu in a proper UPSC question format. So what are the major implications? So first implication is that if charges are being imposed, doesn't matter who will be paying the charges, be the merchant or be the bank or be the user. Whosoever is paying the charges, it may act as a disincentive, right? It may act as a disincentive. How? If the merchant is set to pay the charges, then merchant may not promote such kind of payment systems, because if merchant is required to pay, the merchant will be incurring losses. If bank does so, or even if merchant, in case of both merchant and banks, there will be lack of innovation, because there won't be, why will they innovate if they have to fund that innovation out of their own pocket, and that innovation is not giving them any income? So they won't innovate. If they won't innovate, then user experience might not be of good quality. So these things are actually written over here, that whether the cost gets passed through the merchants, consumers, or absorbed by banks, it depends on competitive intensity on each side of the market. So it says that the intermediaries absorb the cost, erodes their incentive to invest in reliability, fraud prevention, expansion, and underserved segments. Most likely shows up later at degraded service or slower innovation. So this is one of the implications if we are imposing additional costs. Then we have additional cost in terms of financial inclusion, like why did like this digital transactions have been promoted? They were promoted to promote formalization of transaction, to like promote tax compliance and all. But if the charges are imposed, and if this makes the transaction costly, then the uses may go down. And if it ultimately leads to cash transactions more, then problem is that what we have been trying to achieve through digital transactions, that will get defeated. So these 2 points you can like very easily write as a part of this answer, and then you can conclude that though there are like issues regarding transactions, and there are issues of how to fund this process, so it needs to be ensured that this additional cost does not impact the MSMEs or the vulnerable sections who are not having like doing very big major transactions, and it should not deter the further more usage of digital transactions. This way you could have concluded this answer. So this article was a very good article. It is a very good explainer. Now we will move to our next article that relates to handloom. UPSC might not be asking you a question directly on handloom, but UPSC may ask you a question, something called through India's artisanal textile traditions. So this article mentions, this explainer mentions that how the handloom sector is a kind of artisanal textile traditions. It is a very old, age-old traditions. So cloths, textiles are actually being made, are actually being handcrafted. Handcrafted will be a very good word. So they are actually handcrafted, and this is like a very unique tradition of India. Why it is unique is that it promotes livelihood, it promotes cultural heritage, and it also promotes sustainable development. And question is asking you to examine. So obviously you need to first define India's artisanal textile traditions. You define it as a way that these are the indigenous traditions being followed in India for a very long time. One of the examples being handloom to create handcrafted cloths. This type of example you can write, and your introduction will be complete. Now, why I picked up this question is, like, this is a very good statement over here. Few sectors simultaneously generate rural employment, empower women, preserve cultural heritage, promote sustainability, and strengthen India's global brand. Very few sectors are like that, and handloom is one of those sectors. So if the question is asking you to examine importance of, significance of handloom in terms of livelihood generation, cultural heritage, sustainable development, then you can write multiple points. How it is promoting livelihood. So it is promoting livelihood in terms of like the people who have been like skilled in this venture, in this activity, they are like dependent on that activity. So if this activity gets promoted more and more, those people will remain employed. And if they remain employed, obviously it will have a very wide implications on the Indian economy as a whole and also on society. So you can write that. You can write about cultural heritage. Very good points written over here. It is being connected. How like the handloom, the spinning wheel by Mahatma Gandhi, Swadeshi movement's boycott of British textiles, weaving became an instrument of economic resistance and national identity, and National Handloom Day is marked on 7 to commemorate the launch of Swadeshi movement 1905. These are very good facts. So you can connect it with culture. In culture, this is just about freedom movement. You can connect it with ancient, like not that ancient, you can connect it with like indigenous traditions of tribals. And there are some good examples as well. There is Tangalia weaving in Gujarat. There is Gallabhama saris in Siddipet district of Odisha. And there is like how you can give these examples and you can tell that there are tribals, there are indigenous people, and they are like using it. They have their own traditional knowledge. They have their own traditional knowledge system, and they are like weaving these textiles, and they are being nature friendly. They are nature friendly. No, very like chemicals are used, dyes are used, and the way these are produced, they are not having any adverse impact on the environment. So this is also about cultural heritage. And when it is about heritage, then you need to write the importance of carrying on this heritage. Why to carry on? We should carry on because it is like if you won't promote it, a civilization can end in a very strong sense, if you say, because people dependent on it. They have like hundreds of lesser known weaving traditions, and if they vanish, then those traditional skills are no longer transferred within families. Disappearance of centuries of accumulated knowledge, distinctive design vocabulary, cultural identity, and these things will vanish. And with these, if these vanish, then obviously the people, the society, the families dependent on those, they will also vanish. And what they will do? They will migrate to some cities, to some other places to do some menial jobs, and the poverty will creep in. So this you can write sustainable development. This sustainable development you need to write in terms of society, that how handloom sector gives employment to women, and how it leads to women empowerment. This is also mentioned in this article itself. Then you can write about how in terms of environment, how the handloom oriented or the traditional textile crafts, they are environment friendly, that we discussed just a while ago. You can also write about international trade, like how this can help India brand its products. A very good statement written over here is, beyond domestic markets, the world increasingly values authenticity, sustainability, and handcrafted luxury. So if these are we need to give consistent quality standards, strong branding, better GI protection. So it is if the authenticity is ensured, sustainability is ensured, and people are actually liking these handcrafted luxury. So it can actually promote international trade also if India is able to brand itself. So this way you can examine this entire statement in terms of overall benefits of the artisanal textile traditions. Now suppose the question also mentioned you that how to promote. If the question is about how to promote India's traditional textile, textile traditions, how to promote ATT, in that case, this article has a very good way forward. First way forward, it says that the National Handloom Program has focused on skill development, design innovation, technology adoption, branding, improved market access. So this is a very good way forward in terms of skill development, design innovation, innovate more designs. Then it has another way forward in terms of, with respect to Gen Z, handloom must become contemporary, fashionable, and aspirational rather than merely traditional. So you bring in some such designs, some fabric, and you design in a certain way that Gen Z gets attracted. It has other way forward as well in terms of consistent quality standards and vigilant action against cultural misappropriation. So there are n number of way forwards given over here. You can just make a simple note out of it. Even if you are not making, just by simply understanding those will help you a lot. So this was about this article related to handloom industry. Now we will move to our third article, and that is a very small article, not that directly. Actually, UPSC related stuffs are not available in this news article, but it is important because UPSC can ask you how connected with the advancement of technology and how its use cases impact its underlying objectives. So Google has recently brought up some AI features in its Google Earth, based on which the objective was to generate mock-ups of completed real estate projects. So on Google Earth, suppose there is a land parcel is being shown. So using this AI feature, people can show up some real estate projects, that this is the apartment being built over here, this is the some malls are being built over here, or some road is being constructed over here, pools are being built. It can be used to create educational infographics using the Google Earth, that AI based system. People can create infographics to educate the people in terms of, for example, in terms of explaining how the latitude and longitude works, what are maps, where is Africa located, where is India located, and giving real life locations a fantasy feel. So in real life locations can be given some innovative paints, innovative designs. So these were useful, these were ultimate objective. Teachers, architects, urban planners were invited to get creative with the prompts, and Google shared examples as well. So teachers, planners, these can become creative and they can learn also, and they can share their learnings as well. So this was the objective of that AI feature that Google launched. But it was very soon it was called back, because it was a lot of misuse cases being started coming up. So consider this question, that technology is morally neutral. Its ethical consequences depend on the intentions of those who wield it. Discuss with reference to AI-enabled satellite imagery. So it is saying that technology is morally neutral, but how the users are using that, what are the ethical, whether they are having that ethical soundedness or not, that will decide, their intention will decide how the technology is being wielded. So this is something is need to be understood. it is very directly connected to this article as well. Now, how to write an answer to question like this? First, you can define the AI-enabled satellite imagery. This is a current-oriented ethics question. So you can define AI-enabled satellite imagery. First, you define satellite imagery, that imagery that is being gained through satellite-based systems, and then you incorporate the function of AI, how AI can improve that imagery, how AI can generate some additional information out of that imagery. So you can define this AI-enabled satellite imagery. Now you need to give some positives of this. What could be the positives? The positives like this, like education and infographics, real estate projects, promoting information awareness about a particular site. These are the positives. And why they are positives? Because the people who are using it, they are having that positive and ethical mindset. This you can write. You can connect it with the values, like how the teachers can do it with their utmost dedication. The value of dedication when it comes to teacher. The value of compassion when it comes to providing information regarding a disaster hit region. So through these values, you can connect the ethical angle of these positives. Then you need to write some negatives. The negatives are something which are the core highlight of this article. So it says that satellite deepfake screenshots, they depicted terrorist attacks, human crisis, industrial accidents, environmental destruction. So these people, like out of fun or to create a hatred or to create misinformation, whatever reason being, they started creating deepfakes out of those satellite imageries. And they had started to create fear among the viewers that some terrorist attack has happened. So you write about negatives in terms of misinformation, right? You write about fear mongering. You write about fake news. So these things you can actually connect, and these have been provided in this article. And you connect that the people, why they are negative? Because the people who are like providing this, they don't have that sound ethical grounding. They don't have those values, and because of this, the ultimate use case is becoming negative. So this way you could have written this answer, and that is the only purpose of this article. UPSC is not going to ask you about Google Earth and all, but yes, UPSC may ask you questions regarding how intentions define the ultimate usage of technology.